you're rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of tat.
Former MotoGP world champion Casey Stoner spoke out again after witnessing the intense duel between Marco Bezzecchi, Aprilia, and Marc Marquez, Ducati, at the 2025 Austrian MotoGP. Stoner said the moment Bezzecchi tried to stay ahead of Marquez clearly demonstrated how difficult it is to withstand the pressure from the Spanish rider. In the race at the Red Bull Ring, Bezzecchi had been impressive leading the pack. However, when Marquez began approaching from behind, the intensity of the race changed drastically. Bezzecchi appeared to be struggling to maintain his racing line and maintain consistent lap times. Stoner said, "When Marc is right behind you, it can be very tense. He has an aggressive, calculating style." Bezzecchi tried hard, but in the end, the pressure from Marc made it difficult for him to maintain his position. Sure enough, a few laps later, Bezzecchi made a slight mistake in the final sector, which Marquez capitalized on to take first place. Not only that, Bezzecchi's decline continued and he had to settle for third place after being overtaken by another rider near the finish line. Marc Marquez ultimately emerged victorious, while Stoner credited Marc's mentality as the biggest factor behind his victory. Marc's mentality is insane. He never gives up, always looks for gaps, and once he's behind you, it's almost impossible not to feel pressured, Stoner added. Here's the full story. The 2025 Austrian MotoGP at the Red Bull Ring was a truly thrilling spectacle. One of the most talked about moments was the heated duel between Marco Bezzecchi, Aprilia Racing, and Marc Marquez, Ducati Lenovo team. This duel even prompted former world champion Casey Stoner to make a scathing comment about the race. At the start of the race, Bezzecchi appeared confident. His Aprilia bike looked competitive on the Red Bull Ring's long straight, allowing him to stay ahead of the pack. Bezzecchi gave the team and Aprilia fans high hopes that a top-flight podium could be secured. However, the situation began to change as Marc Marquez slowly but surely closed in on him. As has often been the case throughout his career, Marquez once again displayed a fearsome aura as he pursued his rivals. As Marquez began to close in on Bezzecchi, the mental pressure became apparent. Bezzecchi began to lose his rhythm, evident in his increasingly inconsistent lap times. He went wide several times in fast corners, widening Marquez's chances. Casey Stoner, now a MotoGP observer, shared his thoughts after the race. He said that being in front of Marquez with pressure from behind is a very difficult situation for any rider to face. When Marc is behind you, it's like a big shadow is constantly chasing you. He's not only fast, but also has an incredible mentality to intimidate his opponents. Bezzecchi tried to defend, but he was clearly overwhelmed by Marc's attacking style, Stoner said. The crucial moment came in the final laps. Bezzecchi went slightly wide in the final sector, and Marquez immediately exploited the narrow gap with his trademark maneuver. Within seconds, the lead was Marquez's. Even more painful for Bezzecchi, his mentality wavered after being overtaken. Instead of regaining the lead, he dropped to third place due to a loss of focus and energy for the remainder of the lap. Marc Marquez ultimately emerged victorious at the 2025 Austrian MotoGP, cementing his reputation as a rider with a steely mentality. Meanwhile, Bezzecchi could only settle for third place, despite having a strong chance to win. Casey Stoner emphasized that Marquez's victory this time was more than just technical ability. Marc's mentality is insane. He never stops pushing, always making his opponents uncomfortable. That's why when he's close behind you, the outcome is almost predictable. He'll find a way to win, said Stoner. For Stoner, Bezzecchi's experience in Austria can be an important lesson. Although disappointed to miss out on the top step of the podium, Stoner believes Bezzecchi still has great potential. However, to beat Marquez, it takes more than just a fast bike. It requires courage, consistency, and a mentality on par with Marquez, something that remains extremely rare in MotoGP today. This race once again proved that despite the emergence of many young talents, Marc Marquez remains the benchmark for a winning mentality in MotoGP. Whenever a racer tries to challenge him, they often collapse mentally before the finish flag even flies. The 2025 Austrian MotoGP, held at the Red Bull Ring, once again confirmed that racing on the 4.3-kilometer track is always full of drama and fierce battles between riders. Among the many interesting stories from this weekend, the heated duel between Bezeki and Marquez was one of the most talked about. From the start of the race, Bezeki put in quite an impressive performance for the Aprilia team. A solid start put him at the front of the pack and even led the race for the first few laps. With Aprilia's increasingly competitive straight-line speed, Bezzecchi appeared confident of maintaining his position. However, things changed drastically when Marquez began to close in from behind. Midway through the race, Marquez, consistently following his aggressive strategy, began to closely follow Bezzecchi. This situation immediately changed the course of the race. Bezzecchi admitted to feeling incredible pressure when he saw the name Marquez displayed on the pit board and heard Marquez's motorcycle roaring directly behind him. Once Marquez was behind me, everything changed. It felt like a huge shadow was always watching my every move. I tried to focus on my racing line, maintaining my rhythm, but he was always in the rearview mirror, always ready to attack. It really put a lot of pressure on me mentally, said a serious Bezzecchi after the race. Bezzecchi tried several defensive maneuvers, blocking the entry to the corner, but Marquez, with his trademark instincts, kept looking for an opening. Under the constant pressure, Bezzecchi finally made a small mistake that proved the turning point. Marquez immediately capitalized with a clean but aggressive overtake, drawing cheers from the crowd in the Red Bull Ring stands. After losing ground to Bezzecchi's situation became even more difficult. Instead of being able to fight back, he lost momentum and rhythm. Shortly after, he was overtaken again by another rider and had to settle for third place. Meanwhile, Marquez continued to ride at a consistent pace and eventually crossed the finish line as the winner, adding to his long list of MotoGP wins. Marquez isn't just fast, he's also smart. He knows when to wait and when to attack. The most difficult thing about him is his mentality. He's got a crazy mentality, always wanting to win, and he never gives us room to breathe. Competing against him isn't just racing on the track, but also psychological warfare, I added Bezzecchi. Bezzecchi's comments further cemented Marquez's image as one of the most dangerous riders in the modern MotoGP era. Despite his advancing age, Marquez's riding style remains aggressive, calculated, and bolstered by an unmatched champion's mentality. Many believe that this victory in Austria once again demonstrates that Marquez still possesses the qualities to be a strong contender for the 2025 world title. For Bezzecchi, despite having to settle for third place, the Austrian race still provided valuable lessons. He realizes that competing with Marquez at the highest level requires not only motorcycle speed but also the mental strength to withstand the extraordinary pressure. This third podium is still important for me and the team, but I have to admit that competing against Marquez is a different level. We have a lot to learn, both technically and mentally. Austria proved one thing: against Marquez, you have to be absolutely perfect. Otherwise, he will always find a way to beat you, Bezzecchi concluded. With this result, the 2025 MotoGP standings are even more interesting. Marquez has once again demonstrated consistency, while Bezzecchi and Aprilia are increasingly aware that to become champions, they must prepare more than just a fast bike, they must also develop a winning mentality.
Rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, bitten lips, bruised knees. I'm addicted to her, need her touching me, cause she got a bad little waist. And we tearing down this place, off the liquor that we chase. Casamigos to the face, baby I don't